The red dust settled on Elias's worn hiking boots, a fine, almost shimmering powder clinging to the last vestiges of morning dew. He stood at the edge of Whisperwind Canyon, a place he knew intimately, a vast, echoing labyrinth carved by time and water. The air was cool, carrying the scent of dry earth and distant sagebrush. Elias adjusted the straps of his small backpack, his gaze sweeping over the familiar, majestic walls that rose on either side, painted in hues of ochre, rust, and burnt umber. This canyon had always been his sanctuary, a quiet companion to his thoughts. But today, the quiet felt different, heavier, perhaps because it had been exactly a year since he last walked these paths with his father. His father, whose laughter once filled these very echoes, whose steady hand had guided him over tricky terrain. Now only the wind whispered through the crevices. Elias began his descent, his steps careful and deliberate, navigating the loose scree. He moved with the quiet reverence of someone treading on sacred ground, his mind drifting between the intricate beauty of the canyon and the lingering ache in his heart. He was deep within the canyon's embrace, where the sunlight struggled to reach the floor, when it happened. A sound, faint at first, then distinct, cut through the stillness. It was a voice, a man's voice, and it was calling his name. Elias. He froze, his breath catching in his throat. He looked around instinctively, though he knew he was alone. The sound had come from deeper within the canyon, around a bend he hadn't yet explored today. He told himself it was just the wind, a trick of the acoustics, a stray hiker he hadn't seen. But the voice, it was too clear, too specific. And it sounded so much like his father. His heart began to pound, a frantic drum against his ribs. It was impossible, of course. His father was gone. He'd seen him go. Yet, the sound had been so undeniably real, a warmth spreading through his chest, a flicker of that desperate, illogical hope that grief often ignites. He took a step, then another, drawn forward by an invisible thread. Elias! The voice came again, closer this time, imbued with an urgency that his father often used when he wanted Elias to pay attention, when he was about to point out a rare bird or an unusual rock formation. He started to move faster, his caution replaced by a surge of adrenaline. He scrambled over boulders, ducked under hanging ledges, the familiar path now just a blur in his periphery as he focused solely on the sound. The canyon seemed to stretch before him, its walls narrowing, the light dimming, yet the voice remained a beacon. "Over here, son." It was unmistakably his father now, the cadence, the slight inflection on son. A sob caught in Elias's throat. He felt a desperate urge to answer, to call back, to tell his father how much he missed him, but he couldn't find the words. He just pushed forward, tears stinging his eyes as the hope, fragile and fierce, took hold. He had to see him. He had to know. He rounded a sharp corner, the passageway opening into a small, enclosed chamber, a natural amphitheater of rock. The voice had been so close, just on the other side. He scanned the small clearing, his eyes wide, searching, expecting to see a familiar figure standing there, perhaps with that gentle, knowing smile. But there was no one. The chamber was empty, utterly, completely empty. The silence that followed was deafening, a cruel mockery after the insistent calls. Elias stood there, bewildered, his hope draining away, replaced by a cold dread. He spun around, as if his father might have just stepped behind a pillar of rock. Nothing. Then, from the very walls around him, from the air itself, the echoes began. They weren't just the lingering resonance of his name. No, they started to twist, to warp, the sound no longer distinct, no longer his father's voice. It fragmented into multiple tones, a cacophony of sound that shifted, grew, and then it began to laugh. A low, guttural chuckle at first, then rising, echoing, bouncing off the canyon walls until it surrounded him, a chorus of cold, mocking laughter that wasn't human. It was the canyon itself, or perhaps his grief, turning on him, revealing the cruel trick. The laughter seemed not warm or gentle like his father's had been. It was empty, chilling, devoid of warmth, seemingly amused by his desperate chase, by his foolish hope. Elias stumbled backward, the sound piercing him, stripping away the last shreds of his composure. He turned and fled, not caring about the path, just needing to escape the mocking echoes. He scrambled back the way he came, the laughter pursuing him, fading only as he neared the canyon's mouth, where the sunlight felt like a blessing, warm and real on his face. He didn't look back. He walked out of Whisperwind Canyon that day, leaving a piece of his innocent hope behind. The experience, as unsettling as it was, taught him a profound lesson. Grief, like a canyon, can create powerful echoes, mimicking what we desperately long for. It can draw us into deep, dark places, chasing illusions. But the true healing, the true connection, isn't found in chasing phantom voices. It's found in accepting the silence, in remembering the genuine laughter, and in learning to carry the love forward, not the lingering ache of what's gone. Have you ever found yourself drawn into a moment that felt surreal, almost supernatural, especially during times of intense emotion? What did it teach you about the lines between memory, grief, and reality? Share your thoughts below, or simply take a moment to reflect on the echoes in your own life.